Hey everybody, it's Dale with EMD Realty. Welcome to part 4 of the home buying process. This is for those that it's your first time buying, or possibly it's been a long time since you purchased a home. So during the first 3 videos, we went over how to find a great agent, what kind of lender you want to talk to, location, property condition, or location, and other things you want to consider when looking at the home, and also having a budget, sticking to it, and what property type: single family home, townhome, condo, or half duplex or duplex. So now in this video, we're going to talk about things to look for when you get excited, you found a home you want to go see, things you want to notice while you're there, and a great agent's going to guide you through this process. As I'm driving up and through a neighborhood, I pay attention to things like condition of the streets and on the way there. And when I get in the neighborhood, I'm looking for things like sidewalks and streets that look like the roller coaster, looking for big patches in the roads, cracked sidewalks. That's a indication that the area may have rather active soil and potential foundation issues. So that's one of the first things I'm noticing before I ever drive up to a home as I'm driving to the location. I've done a video about different areas of the Metroplex and where the worst areas are as far as foundation failure. And there's actually a map of the Metroplex that shows that. But the next thing is I pull up, I'm looking around the area, just paying general attention to the neighborhood. Does it look like a place that I would want to live? People are taking care of their homes, where value will not be an issue due to the lack of care of other neighbors in the neighborhood. Those are some of the things I'm looking at. Now to the structural things, as I've already started talking about. As I'm walking up the sidewalk, I'm paying attention to the roof. The roof is one of the first things I'm going to notice. I'm going to see if it looks like it's in decent shape, because if the roof's not, it may need to be repaired or replaced. Could be an insurance issue, could be an appraisal issue. I'm also looking to see, do I see signs of wood rot? Of course, we're going to walk around the outside of the home as well as the inside, so you want to make sure you're out looking on a day that it's not wet and you have plenty of light so you can see things. So if you're working during the week and it's winter time, you probably want to look on the weekends unless you can go during the day when we have plenty of light. But I'll be looking for things such as jagged cracks in mortar, and see if I see gaps around the doors or windows. I'll be looking up at the fascia, the boards around the house, to see if I see signs of maybe rodent infestation like squirrels, things such as that. Hopefully no mice or rats. But also I'll be looking at the freeze board, which is a board that is kind of like the cap at top of the brick. If I see that popped out, that's a sign of potential foundation movement. And then of course driveways and things like that we'll notice. And I'll look at things like the fence, even though it's not part of the home. It's a potential expense item. I want to see, does it look like it's in good shape? Is it leaning? Are there pickets that need to be replaced? Is it rotted? All those things. And now as we walk into the home, I'm going to be paying attention to the general condition, the paint inside, the condition of the flooring. And I'm also going to be looking at cracks, any cracks I see in the ceilings, any cracks I see around doorways, jagged cracks around windows. I'm going to pay attention to whether or not the door closes well. Do I see a gap around the door? Is light coming in? Potential water intrusion there. Same thing for cracks outside in the brick. Want to make sure that those have been pointed. If the mortar's been pointed, that means it's filled in if anything like that was apparent. And then as I'm walking around looking at the house, I'm going to be opening doors to see that everything's closing properly. I'm going to pay attention to whether or not the floor is sloping, another sign of potential foundation issues. So I mentioned the cracks in the ceilings and doors, big sign. And then as we walk through the home, I'm going to be looking at the kitchens and baths, looking for signs of, is everything pretty well taken care of? Is the toilet running as we're walking in? And does it stop running? We might flush a toilet just to make sure that it appears to be working. Might turn on a faucet or two just to see if it's turning on and off and not leaking. Look at the general condition of the plumbing that we can see. I'm not going to go open up doors and everything underneath cabinets to see. I may though look in kitchen and bathroom cabinets just to see if there's any damage to the wood, to see if there's been water damage there from that's either current or previous, just to get a general idea. And those are some of the things we're going to look at. And we go into the kitchen, just look and see if it looks like everything's turned on. Microwave, does it look like the lights are on? Any apparent damage? We're not going to do an inspection, but we're going to pay attention to things that the inspector may notice. And I'm going to walk in, and I'm going to go out to the garage. If it's at least a new enough home. If it's an older home, there may be the breaker box in the master closet. That's going to be homes built prior to 1980 typically. But I'm going to be looking to see if it's one of the panels I mentioned before. Here in Dallas-Fort Worth, the Federal Pacific is one of the ones that failed. Put in homes from the 50s to the 80s. So those are things that we're going to look at. We want to look at all those things before we ever think of putting in an offer on a home. Oh, and I'm going to be looking for signs of termite damage to around windowsills and things. If we see sawdust and things like that, that's a sign there may be potential termite damage. We're also, before we put in an offer, we're going to be getting a seller's disclosure from the seller. We're going to look at that. But if we see any of the major things, such as the roof, when we put an offer in, we're going to get that addressed up front to make sure that that's going to be taken care of before we decide to commit your money to getting an inspection and going under contract. So those are some of the structural things that we're going to be looking at. And in the next video, we're going to be going into detail about the next part, what happens when it's time to make an offer. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. See you in video number 5. Have a great one.